Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
And welcome, my friends. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer. I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their books into audiobooks. So if you are a nonfiction author, you need to narrate your own audiobook because, number one reason being that it's your story. No one can express your story better than you, not another narrator and definitely not AI. So if you're interested in recording and narrating your own audiobook, that's what I do, and it's something that I love doing and helping authors with. But if this is your first time joining the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, I welcome you, and you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat today because we do have a very, very special guest who is going to talk about her incredible journey and her book as well. But before we do, I do want to let you know that I have a freebie for everybody who tunes in. You can grab the Audiobook Narration Reference Guide. I put this little guide together. It's a free download. Grab yourself a copy. I put in some tools and techniques of things that you can do from a practical standpoint and also from the emotional standpoint of how to do a great audiobook narration. So grab your free guide. That link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. Again, bit.ly/narration reference guide. You can always go to the website as well at robertlanecoaching.com to pick that up. But I don't want to waste any more time. I want to bring on our very special guest. So I'd like to welcome to the show Risa August. Risa is not only a best-selling author, but she wrote a book called The Road Unpaved, which we're really going to dive into. She also is a speaker. Risa is a Gestalt Practitioner, and we're going to talk more about that too, because that really interests me as well. And she's just done a bunch of incredible things in her life that probably many people haven't even been able to achieve, even if they wanted to. So we're really excited to bring Risa on. So let's welcome Risa August, our very special guest. Hey, Risa, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Robert. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Boy, you've done two Ironmans. You've done you're a biker. I mean, here in Sedona, I love running, so I go on my trail runs, and I see a lot of people on their bikes on the trails as well. You're a backpacker. You're a world traveler. You've done so many amazing things. It's mind-boggling how you're able to fit all that in into your life. That's pretty amazing. But I also want to congratulate you on some of the achievements that you've done. For example, you were the 2024 recipient of the Next Generation Indie Book Awards. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. I've actually won five awards so far, but I definitely remember that one because I got a nice shiny gold medal to go with it.
That's awesome. And you were also, I know you received, you were a recipient of it was the Global Women of Choices Awards. What was that about?
Yes, it's an international company. They have a magazine. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. Global Women's Magazine, and it's more. I want to call it more like a movement. But they started small, but they started seeking out women all over the world who are doing incredible things. And one day, I found out that I was chosen as an inspirational leader um, kind of the women's movement, I guess, so to speak. So that was extremely exciting to receive that award.
Well, that's pretty amazing, and that's only two of several awards that you've received, which is pretty commendable. So, I just wanted to acknowledge those accomplishments. Now,
Oh,
I know you live in Colorado. Did you grow up in Colorado? Is that your home, or did you grow up somewhere else?
I actually grew up outside of Cleveland, in a suburb of
Ah,
Cleveland, Ohio. But I've been in Colorado since 2008,
hmm.
and um, and I can't seem to break away from the wonderful weather we have here. And the mountains. I love the mountains.
So that's awesome. And you went to school in Ohio. Then did you go to in college? You did all that in Ohio.
I did, yes. I went to Kent State University,
Oh,
which
okay.
a lot of older generations probably recognize that name for um, the Kent State shootings during the Vietnam War.
Ah, right, right.
And so that's kind of what it's known for in a not so wonderful way. But yeah, it was. I had a great time.
And what was your studies, your major when you were going to college?
Well, I started off as in business,
Hmm.
but quickly realized I took a long break. I took like a 10-year hiatus and traveled the world and lived in various places, and realized that my heart wasn't in business. It was actually with the planet and the earth, and all things environmental and travel and culture. And so I finally landed with a degree in geography.
Well, that's cool. And considering all the things that you've done, have really been nature related and world related. So it just seems to really fit into really who you are as a person, and that just all comes together, and that's pretty amazing. So, what inspired you to do two Ironmans? I mean, that's a pretty intense thing. I was going to do a Tough Mudder once, and I didn't do it.
Oh yeah, those look fun too. What was it? It was actually when I went back to college 10
Hmm.
years later, from the after that first time. And this time I was doing things differently. The first time I went to college, I was also working full time and putting myself through school. And this time I decided, I'm gonna work part time doing something I enjoy and really focusing on my studies. And so I got a job lifeguarding,
Ah,
and
okay.
I really learned how to swim. I mean, I learned how to swim as a child, but I really learned how to swim, like swim efficiently. And so that was my fitness. I was really getting into swimming and honing my swim skills. And I started seeing people coming to the pool, and clearly they were training for something. I wasn't sure what. And so I asked one day, I ain't gonna lie, this guy was really cute. So I was like, trying to figure out how to talk to him. But I asked him, like, are you training for something? And he said, a triathlon. And I said, "Wow, that tell me more about it." And he said, "You should try one." And so I borrowed a mountain bike from someone, and um, my first distance was a sprint distance, and I remember finishing, and I will never forget the high that came with that, crossing that
Yeah.
finish line and that sense of accomplishment. And so over the years, I just worked my way up to an Ironman distance.
That's pretty, yeah, that's pretty amazing. I've never done a marathon. I've done 5Ks, and I still do 5K races once in a while, just because. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, my body is not built anymore for for anything too crazy. But doing those types of events, I mean, obviously you were keeping yourself very healthy. I'm sure you had some kind of regimen in regards to nutrition. I mean, and that's all part of. Wouldn't that all be part of the training aspect?
I was very in tune with my body and very regimented, almost overly regimented. Looking back at the time, I didn't think so, but
Yeah.
yes, very much. That was my life, really.
Hmm.
Um, getting up at 4:30 a.m. to get to the pool by 5:30 a.m. and get my laps in and then go to work all day and then finish the day with a bike or a run or weights and eating a very strict diet. Yeah.
So you're doing all this training, things are going great. What was the first sign that something with your body wasn't quite right?
Uh, I'd say the very first signs were maybe about close to a year after, not quite a year after my first Ironman race. So in 2011, my friend asked me to do a 500-mile bicycle tour with her. It was a 6-day tour around Oregon.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. But I actually really, really struggled. Um,
Hmm.
and I had put on probably about almost 40 pounds just from the end of my Ironman race to the start of that bicycle tour. So in less than a year, and I I was struggling on the ride and
Hmm.
bonking, and things just seemed a little haywire. Um, and so I started seeing doctors shortly after that.
Hmm.
And I continued to kind of get dismissed. Well, you're healthy, and well, there's nothing we're too concerned about, and maybe you're overtraining. So that was the start of it all. That was the start of it all. Fast
And then
forward,
right.
oh,
I'm sorry, go on.
well, fast forward about 7 years, and that's kind of when it all came to a head, following
Uh,
my second Ironman race. Yeah.
I see. And I know that at one point you were married. Um, when did you get married? Young?
I got married in my early 30s.
Oh, okay.
I felt like I got married later in life compared to most of my friends.
Hmm.
And I actually didn't think I'd ever get married. I'm a bit of a free spirit. But but yes, and so that happened.
So now you did your second Ironman. You know you're starting to see something that's not right. So how did it finally get to the point where you were able to find a doctor or somebody to give you a proper diagnosis of what was going on with your health?
Yeah, so I completed another Ironman race, and I couldn't recover. I couldn't get off the couch.
Hmm.
And I was looking at all these things like the HPA access and adrenal fatigue, even something called post Ironman depression.
Hmm.
And I I was also looking at thyroid, like things were pointing to my thyroid. So I kept doing research. I'm the type of person that I'm going to find the answer and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to fix it. And but I kept being told, no, your thyroid's fine, your blood work's fine, all of that's fine. You're probably still overtraining, not drinking enough water, and it finally got to a point where um, I had such severe headaches that weren't going away, and I asked my doctor for an MRI, and she denied it a couple times until finally I didn't ask, and I said, "Order me the MRI." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So, Risa, we're going to take a quick break. We want to talk about the diagnosis and what now transpired once you had your MRI. So we're going to get that into that when we come back. You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My very special guest is Risa August, who's just telling an incredible story. We're going to dive into your book as well, because you have an incredible story to tell there. So we will be right back. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. If you have any comments or questions for Risa, please give us a call, or you can make a comment there in the chat. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And we're back on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane, and my very special guest today is Risa August, who is sharing an incredible story. Somebody who was doing things that I wouldn't even imagine I could even do. Ironmans and bike tours and backpacking and all this stuff. But now you've noticed that there was something going on with your body, with your health. Doctors were dismissing it, saying you're fine, you're normal, but you know your body, and that's the thing. And I think that's one piece of advice that we all need to take, and that is listen to your body. You know your body best, and you told your doctor, let's do the MRI. So you went ahead and you did the MRI. What happened?
yes. So, trust me, I was hoping it was going to come back clean. But it felt to me, I really felt like, hey, I want to do this, and hopefully it's fine, but just in case. And
Yeah.
luckily I did. 1 week later, I had a email from her saying, you have an enlarged pituitary, go see an endocrinologist.
Mm.
I'm like, wait, what? What are you saying? And so I had no idea what that meant. I didn't even really understand what an endocrinologist was
Mm.
at that
Mhm.
time. And she would eventually go on to become the most important person in my corner. So yes, so I was diagnosed with a tumor, a massive tumor, larger than a golf ball, crammed at the base of my brain.
Wow.
And it it's on the pituitary gland, which is right between your eyeballs at the base of your brain. So, which is hard to explain, but it makes sense when you look at an image. And it came with a rare disease, which is actually, I don't like to say rare because it's believed to not be so rare, but it's difficult to diagnose.
Okay.
And so it came with a very destructive disease. And I had no idea at that moment what I was in for.
And what were their diagnoses? I mean, what was their solution to help you with this, or was there a solution to be able to deal with this?
Yes. So I remember my endocrinologist pointing to the screen with my skull in it and pointing to this large gray mass crammed in my skull and saying, "This has to come out."
Mm.
And I said, "I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? Like brain surgery?" She said, "Yes."
Wow.
Oh, what? Yeah. So I went on to have brain surgery and found out they couldn't get the entire tumor. Went on to have radiation treatment, but it's even more complicated than that because this tumor, no matter how big or small, it still causes this destructive disease.
Mm.
So the goal of radiation treatment is to essentially shrink the tumor, and in the meantime, I have to be on very powerful medications to control the damage that this disease and tumor is doing to my body. And that comes with a whole new set of side effects and symptoms. So, without getting too wordy and complicated, it was gonna change. It changed my life forever. Let's say.
And so radiation treatment then was really the only diagnosis that they were able to give you, aside from the medications that they're having you take.
Yeah, following brain surgery, I was told that radiation, I was strongly encouraged that that was my
Mhm.
best option. Um, I was reluctant at first.
Yeah.
I'll never really know if it was the best decision or not, but what I did realize was that the more I know, the um, the better decisions I can make for myself. And so I decided that's it. I need to educate myself as much as I can. I need to use my voice more. I need to advocate. And that's what ignited that journey. And, but let me start with it wasn't easy.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. And this disease, I mean, are there still studies being done? Are they just discovering new things about it, about how to treat it? Is that something that's ongoing?
Yes, it's absolutely ongoing, and there's definitely companies out there that are constantly doing trials and creating medications for it, and people are getting more and more diagnosed. Um, the more we talk about it and draw attention to it, and so that's the goal, to get people diagnosed earlier. Earlier diagnosis, as with a lot of things, can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Can really, you could potentially live a very normal life if you get diagnosed much earlier. And sometimes diagnosis is as simple as a blood test on if we, for example, we're trying to get a simple blood test added to a basic metabolic panel, the kind of blood work you would receive in an annual physical.
Hmm.
Um, and that could potentially diagnose people a lot earlier and therefore make treatments and recovery much easier with a more positive and normal prognosis.
Yeah. So you have a friend, and your friend is named Bubba. Tell us about Bubba.
Oh my gosh. Uh, so I tend to work in a more holistic realm, and my mentor probably lives in a more metaphysical, like holistic realm. And she said, "Why don't you name your tumor?" And I said, "What? Are you what?" I tend to be someone more in my head and logical. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I name my tumor? And she said, "Well, what if you started talking to your body differently, as opposed to instead of um, you know, being angry at your body and feeling like it's betrayed you, why don't you befriend it and start talking to your body in language that sets a more positive intention?"
Mm.
And so I said, "Well, I don't know, I'll think about it." But then I started trying it on, and I started having conversations with my tumor and thinking, "Okay, tumor," leading up to surgery, I'd be like, "I think it's time for you to go on permanent uh, retirement. It's you served your purpose. It's time to pack your bags and move out." And it really became yeah, this voice in my head that I would have dialogue with. And so I don't know, we landed on the name Bubba. I landed on the name Bubba because that's just what stuck. And then all my friends started talking, about Bubba and referring to Bubba, and it caught on. And again, Bubba really became a driving force in my life.
And of course, you talk about Bubba in your book, and I do want to talk about your book. What was the catalyst? Well, first of all, I guess it's really a two-parter. What was the catalyst for writing the book, and what was really the catalyst to go on that journey that you did from that bike journey from Canada to Mexico?
Yes. Well, I remember sitting on my sofa. I was wearing these tattered gray sweatpants that were all frayed at the end, and I haven't barely moved in 6 months following my
Mm.
brain surgery. And I could barely get off the couch. And it was really a life or death moment for me. I remember thinking, this is no way to live. I even feel myself getting emotional thinking about that moment. I said, this is not how I want to live my life. And I was so focused on what I could no longer do. I would never run
Mm.
again. I would never do another Ironman. And I stopped focusing on that, and I started asking myself, well, what can I do? What's possible? And and I said, well, I can get out of these damn sweatpants. And that was my first step. But I really, in that moment on the couch, I knew I needed something to live for. And that was the exact moment I decided. I pulled out my bucket list. I had always wanted to ride my bike across the country. And that was the moment I decided I was going to ride my bike from Canada to Mexico down the Pacific coast.
Wow, wow. And that, of course, became the story that you share in the Road Unpaved, and that's quite a story and quite a journey. And uh, I know we're going to be coming up to a break soon, but I want to start some of this journey. So, what were first of all, how do you train your body to prepare for something like that uh, after surgery and after having knowing that now you have this disease that you have to deal with?
It starts in the mind.
Mm.
Yeah, it starts with mindset. Um,
Mm.
and I might not have had strength and endurance at that moment, but I still had will and determination.
Wow. And so you start this now. Now was it it was with a group of people, or was it a solo adventure?
Yeah, so I had a lot of logistics to worry about, medications, and I didn't know how my body was going to respond. So
Mm,
I signed up with a what's called a semi-supported tour, with where me and nine other cyclists whom I didn't know,
mm.
hired a van that would transport our gear from campsite to campsite each day. But we were self-sufficient. Like it was up to us
Okay.
to get from point A to point B, and take care of all our needs and so forth. But I thought I was going to like having kind of that van and the group as backup, because I didn't know how my body was going to respond.
Yeah. And were they supportive? Did you divulge uh, how this, your reason for doing the journey, and maybe did you share, about the health issues that you were having with them?
Yes, about 3 weeks prior to our starting the tour, we all introduced ourselves over email,
Okay.
and I won a video contest, an international video contest, for just like a 3-minute video about my journey. And one of the guys was like, "Well, you realize you're going to have to train for this." And I was I was just like, "Who? Like, does he not know who he's talking to?" Because this video really talks about like what I was battling, and so I think he thought I was just going to go do this ride out of nowhere, but he had no idea who I was.
So you had no idea about all those things that you've done, all the Ironmans and the biking tours and all that stuff. That's
And
funny.
I like shocking people a little bit, so I let people believe that I was just this girl showing up with a bike.
And then you're beating them all. They're like scratching their heads, like, how is she doing this? It's like, you know why? Because I have Bubba.
Yes.
You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We're going to take another quick break. My very special guest is Risa August, and we're talking about her book, The Road Unpaved. She did this incredible journey. This incredible journey. I mean, just alone, being healthy, doing a bike tour from Canada to Mexico. That's incredible. We're going to talk more about it, and I want you to be able to share some of the great highlights and some of the things that were challenges that you were able to overcome during that. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away, my friends. So much more coming your way.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. My very special guest is Risa August. We're talking with Risa about her book, The Road Unpaved, which is an incredible story of biking from Canada to Mexico, and you're dealing with this rare, but maybe not so rare, pituitary disease, and your friend Bubba, who's right back here somewhere, along for the ride, and so if you can pick maybe one or two highlights that you talk about in your book during the bike journey. What were a couple of things that were just amazing, that maybe something that you didn't expect?
Oh gosh.
It's
I
probably a
don't want to give
lot.
too much away. Yeah, this one's tough. And I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
let's just say I went into the ride. I like to say like old Rissa and new Rissa. So there's the Rissa pre-surgery and diagnosis, and then there's there's the old Rissa, yeah, like pre-surgery, pre-diagnosis, and the new Rissa that's like post-surgery and post-diagnosis, and which she's way better. I like her way better. And
Oh, good.
but but I went into the ride, even though I was post surgery, I was still pre surgery Rissa. I was still old Rissa. So I went in like, I'm doing this on my own. I know that I'm sort of with a group, but I'm riding on my own. I don't need them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. This is my soul healing journey. And boy, was I surprised, especially going in with one of my characters, the one that kind of called me out in the email. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what a jerk. And so there are some surprises with some of the relationships and dynamics, and how they developed over the 6-week journey. Um, and, and then of course, I picked the Pacific Coast because the scenery is incredible.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think there were so many highs and lows. But I think I astounded myself with what I could do. Especially the first 2 weeks were cold and rainy, and my body hurt, and I didn't know how. There were days where I just didn't know how I was going to get back in the saddle. I just didn't know how I was going to do it, and then I did it. And and like I said, I developed relationships with people I didn't think I would, and it really shifted my perspective. And then one little fun highlight is pouring rain somewhere in remote Washington State, and another day slogging through, and I'm looking down, just focused on the road and my bike computer, and like, what am I doing? Is this what it's going to be like for the rest of like the 5 more weeks or however long? And I remember I look up and I see this giant teddy bear. I'm saying mass, like bigger than me. I don't know if you've ever seen them. I think Costco used to carry them or something, but they're
Right. Yeah.
and it's sitting in a recliner at the end of someone's driveway in remote Washington State, and its hands up waving, and it's pouring rain, and it just was such a incredible reminder to look around. Otherwise, you're going to miss giant teddy bears sitting in a recliner at the end of someone's driveway.
That's right. It's as a coach, not only as an audiobook coach and producer, I started my coaching business. Robert Lane Coaching started as a career coach and life coach. And so I go out and I do speaking engagements. And one of the topics that I use as a keynote is one that's called "Blinders Are for Horses." It's about missed opportunities. And you just completely reminded me about that, because when we wear our blinders, we miss out. we miss out on things that are happening all around us that we should be aware of. And I love that you brought that up, because that's such a great point, to just be aware of your surroundings, because there's a lot of things out there that, and you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss these opportunities. And I think probably then there's two words that came to mind as you were sharing your story, and that is tenacity and resilience.
Hmm.
And those are two things that I think you've really been able to express, in your story and in your journey. Um, how do you feel about that? Do you feel that's an accurate depiction of what you've learned with the new Rissa?
Yes, I'd say so. I think so. I think there's some gumption. I mean, I named my bike Moxie,
Oh,
and
perfect.
so it's interesting. I remember on the couch when I sat on the couch in those tattered gray sweatpants, and I made that decision of like, I want to live, like I want to
Mhm.
really live. I was so rigid in my previous life. I all I did was train and eat right and do everything according to whose ever rules I was following,
Yeah.
and this time I wanted to live on my terms and live full out, and so now I eat lots of cake and chocolate and
Good for
and
you.
and donuts, which is a chapter in my book about donuts. But I also realized in that moment that living doesn't mean it's always fun and
Mm,
sunshine and rainbows and butterflies. And, it also means the hard parts
yeah.
um, and adversity and challenging moments and that's what it means to be alive. And I had a big dose of that last year. I rode my bike across northern Spain,
Mm,
and it challenged me on every level, not just physically, emotionally, mentally. Every facet of it was challenging. And people would say, "Oh, well, do you regret that you went? Like, I'm sorry to hear that." And the first thing I say is, "I'm not. I'm still living. Like, I still get to be
yeah.
alive and experience all that." And so I think from this journey, like that's how it's evolved for me, is being alive means all of it.
And I think what I see is that this has led to other things that you're doing, in addition to being a published author and a speaker. You are you're a Gestalt practitioner. And I want to talk about that for a little bit as well. But I also wanted to mention about uh, voice and story. This is something that you've created called Voice and Story. Can you share about that, what it is, and what you do with that?
Sure. While I was in the midst of my Gestalt certification program, which was a 2-year certification intense program, I wasn't able to get on my bike yet. This was
Mm,
post surgery, and I was still struggling to even get out of those sweatpants. I knew though I had to get off that couch, and so I started painting.
mm,
And I started, I'm very drawn to the Native American culture, and I started painting talking sticks for fellow practitioners who would be graduating from the same certification program. And they started telling me I should sell these. And I was like, what? I'm not an artist or anything. Um, but so I started selling these pieces of art worldwide, and um, what they really were a symbol of, finding your voice and sharing your story. It's an opportunity. You hold the talking stick in your hand, and you have that power to use your voice and share what needs to be heard. And so then I started developing, a workshop around that, and again, selling my art worldwide. And it was funny because people would thank me for these beautiful pieces of art, but what they didn't realize was how that was actually healing work for me. It got me off the couch, out of those sweatpants, and all I had to do was focus on painting and adorning these pieces of art, and it really got me in that state of mindfulness and out of the focus of this new reality.
And I've seen some of the pictures of the artwork that's on your website. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I also want to just to educate some people about what Gestalt is and what you do as a practitioner. So we're going to do that. We're going to take one more last quick break. We'll be back. You are tuned into the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My very special guest is Risa August. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
We're back. Welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My very special guest is Risa August. Boy, thank you so far for such great stories and sharing your story and your journey, because it's really, I feel, important to hear somebody like yourself. I find it very inspiring. Now, I know that you are a Gestalt practitioner. Some people may not be familiar what Gestalt is. Can you just do like a quick summary of what it is?
Yes, Gestalt is a German word that loosely means wholeness. And so Gestalt, the modality is a very holistic, experiential approach to like coaching therapy. And yeah, so you said be quick, so I'll stop there.
No, it really is a good technique. I've seen it done, demonstrated with other people in another coaching program that I was in, and I was like, wow, that really, it really does help you. It really does help you. So I'm glad that you got certified to be a practitioner. So what is the next adventure for Risa August?
Gosh, yes, there's so many things. My bucket list keeps getting longer. I'm finishing up the screenplay for my book, The Road Unpaved.
Oh, nice.
Been working on my second book. I'm living a very full and robust life. But if we're going to talk bike adventures, I have my eyes set on, my sights set on biking along the Rhine River from Switzerland to
Ooh,
the Netherlands.
wow.
So I might combine that with like, they're called bike and boat tours. So I might do a little of both. So we'll see. That's where I'm focused next.
That is awesome. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place to send people?
Yes, you can learn all about me on my website. It's risaaugust.com. That's RISA, August, just like the month.
Awesome. And I've gone there. There's a lot of great information there. Check out the voice and story section because you're going to see a lot of beautiful artwork, and you should order some. I think it's great. I think it's really uh, awesome what you're able to do. And again, I find it very inspirational to see that and to show people that we go through tough times. That's life. And sometimes we go through things that are a lot harder than we even could imagine, but you can come out on the other end in a positive way. There are ways to still enjoy and love life no matter what life throws at you, no matter what type of adversity that you can overcome, but know that you can. And, again, thank you so much, Rissa, for sharing your story. You got to get her book. It's The Road Unpaved. It's published, obviously, on Amazon. You did the audiobook version, so good for you for doing that. You got to do the audiobook for your next book, of course. We got to hear you tell your
Yeah,
story. Uh,
definitely.
and and before we go, I know you mentioned during the break that you had a question, so I wanted to see if you wanted to have any question, ask any question.
Yes, I was just curious when you've been out on the trail running and you said that's been a passion of yours, and we were talking about blinders, did you ever have any ahas or moments where you were reminded of, to take the blinders off to, whether it was look up and look around or if there was some other metaphor in your mind about it? I'm just curious.
That's, that's a really good question. I have my secret trails that I run here in Sedona because, Sedona is a very touristy town. So the locals, we got to find our little trails. And there's one trail that I like that's near where I live, and I call it my manifestation run. It's about 5.5 miles, and it's, your first mile and a quarter is all uphill. So you start uphill. So that's the toughest mile. But I call it my affirmation run because I give myself that opportunity to think about things what are things that I want to do, what are things that I'm grateful for, what things am I thankful for, what are the goals that I want to accomplish, and I just, and as I run I do my affirmations, and it, for me, running, and it may be the same for you with biking, is that it's very meditative for me. It just puts me in a zone. Now, blinders, well, it's funny. My sister was visiting from Vermont last week, and this is the first time I actually hiked the trail because I always run it. And we actually hiked the trail, the full trail, and that gave me an opportunity to really look around and see. Well, I never noticed that rock, or I didn't see that bush or cactus or pine tree or whatever it was. So you do get to discover more things because, again, since it's a trail, I have to be careful where I'm stepping because I've fallen and tripped many times and injured myself many times on the trail. So I have to, definitely keep my eyes open and eye on the trail. But it was nice to really look around. But again, being out in nature for me is very meditative, and it gives me a chance to think about things that I want to do, and I get fired up. I get fired up to uh, do what I do as a coach, as a audiobook coach, as a career coach, as a speaker, whatever it is. As a musician, whatever it is. It helps me regain my focus. So yeah, I love
I
doing
love
it.
love that. Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, thank you so much. Again, go to risaaugust.com to find out more about Risa, to get her book, to check out all the things that she's doing. And of course, my last assignment to you, my friends, is this. When you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, right? Takes 5 seconds of your life. Blip, it's done. But you know what? That small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life. So be a life changer. Because you know what? We all wear a mask. We all do. Everything's great. But you and I know that there are people out there, they're hurting inside for one reason or another. And that small act of kindness could be the best thing that has happened to them that entire day. So be good humans. Risa, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And appreciate all of you for tuning in. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. If you are an author and you're interested about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, you can always go to robertlanecoaching.com and find out more. And with that, again, have a great day. Have a great week. We'll be talking to you next week at this same time. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Have a great, great weekend, my friends. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.